and then move ahead so that the program can start. It is my distinguished honor to welcome you to day 2 of the 2025 Research Week and Scientific. Especially delighted to chair today's proceedings as we continue our collective journey under the theme Empowering Impactful Outcomes. Reminds us that research must go beyond publication metrics and academic accolades. It must translate into real-world solutions that improve livelihood, inform policy, drive innovation, and shape a more equitable and sustainable future. In every institution, in every lab, and across every discipline represented here, there are brilliant hypotheses and experiments underway. But the truth is, the world doesn't change with brilliant abstracts alone. The world changes when the world changes when that discovery leaves the pages and the lab notebooks and finds its practical application. We recognize that the journey from initial discovery to real-world impact is often fraught with obstacles, funding gaps, policy hurdles, institutional silos, and the shared challenge of translating complex science into accessible solutions. These challenges can leave even the most dedicated researcher feeling isolated. At KNUST, we believe that impactful research begins with an enabling system that one nurtures curiosity, supports collaboration, and provides the tools, mentorship, and infrastructure necessary for excellence. Today's programs reflect this ethos. From preliminary talks to breakout sessions, we explore how interdisciplinary research, innovation ecosystems, and production can address the complex challenges of our time. The conference is designed not merely as a venue for presentation, but an avenue for empowerment. Over the next couple of days, we will aim to equip you with essential tools which are necessary to overcome those hurdles and maximize your impact exponentially. Impact today in research field is really a silo endeavor. It is a team. We have deliberately fostered an environment here that integrates academic excellence with the agility industry and the mission of governance. The global community requires not mere state-of-the-art science, but a science that is demonstrably, efficiently, and ethically deployed to address critical priorities, from climate resilience to equitable public health. Your collective work represents the engine driving this essential. I encourage each of you to engage deeply with ideas, with one another, and with the opportunities that this conference represents. Let us ask bold questions, challenge assumptions, and forge partnerships that extend beyond this walls. View this conference as an avenue to challenge your established assumptions. May today's sessions inspire new insights, spark collaborations, and reaffirm our shared mission to advance knowledge for the greater good of mankind. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive and impactful day. With this, I humbly accept to chair this section. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for accepting to chair. Please, let's appreciate him. If he didn't accept, technically this gathering wouldn't be constituted. So, Prof, we really appreciate you for doing this for us and setting the tone for today's conference. His work continues to influence policy, improve livelihoods, and inspire young researchers to think beyond the walls of academia. Under his leadership, the School of Graduate Studies has become a impact, the very theme of this year's gathering, empowering researchers to achieve impactful outcomes. So let's put our hands together and give a warm and spirited welcome to the Director of the School of Graduate Studies, Professor Michael Poku-Buensi, to give us a message from the graduate school. Please, you can do better. Please. Let's continue before he takes the microphone. Thank
you. Good morning, everyone. Professor Ch of College, the Director of the Institute of Direct Department, ladies and gentlemen, welcome you all to the session of this year. The School of Graduate Studies is particularly delighted with the opportunity of this conference to our students to advance their research journey. Conferences like this provide opportunities for networking, receiving feedback on research, enhancing, finding new opportunities and approaches to professional development. It helps students build crucial connections with peers and experts, present their work to a wider audience, and develop their public speaking skills, and learn about the latest development and potential job opportunities in their field. Conferences also provide an opportunity to step away from the lab or library and gain perspective and motivation. The School of Graduate Studies has initiated steps to make the research conducted by our students more meaningful to our national development efforts. Some of these initiatives include the Book of Doctoral Abstracts, a compilation of the abstract of theses submitted by our doctoral graduates. We have also instituted the Doctoral Dialogue Series, which offers our doctoral students the opportunity to share their research experience in short video recordings with the global community. We are currently in the process of engaging one of our media houses to air this series in prime time. In the interim, our own Tech TV and other social media outlets will be used for the dissemination. Starting from the 2025-2026 academic year, all our research students will be expected to publish from their theses before graduating. For doctoral students, a minimum of 2 publications, 1 journal article and 1 peer-reviewed conference paper will be required. Our MPhil students, on the other hand, will have a peer-reviewed conference paper. To this end, conferences like this will be beneficial to our students. The editors will collaborate with the editors of the Journal of Science and Technology and the conference organizers to produce a special our graduate students to achieve impactful outcomes for their research. Doctoral students will present policy briefs as part of their submissions to the School of Graduate Studies. These policy briefs will be shared with bodies such as the National Development Planning Commission and the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies to inform policies at the national level. SGS, on our part, will equip our doctoral students with the necessary skills to prepare such policy briefs. The School of Graduate Studies has also initiated discussions aimed at developing a standard template to assist our postgraduate students in exploring the commercialization of their research outputs. This template, which our postgraduate students will populate and submit to the SGS, is expected to provide the university with the opportunity to screen for the potential commercial opportunities arising from the research conducted by our students, and further develop them to full prototypes and subsequent commercialization. I would like to conclude by encouraging all our presenters to feel free to share their research. Presenting your work through a poster or oral presentation is an ideal way feedback from experts in your field. Remember that this conference keeps you up to date as you can learn about the cutting edge of research and new methods directly from one another and gain the needed knowledge and skills that will come handy in the future. The SGS wishes you a successful presentation and thanks everyone for your attention.
Thank you very much. Please, let's do it for him one more time. Thank you, Prof, for sharing that warm message from graduate school with us and giving us insights on how postgraduate studies can be excellent and globally recognized. Please, one more clap for him. It is my pleasure to invite the team to put this scientific conference together, the chief convener of this conference. He's a professor, a full professor at that, in chemistry, a seasoned researcher and scholar with an impressive track record. And to think that chemistry is one of the subjects that gave me severe whips at my back, I give him my full respect. Professor Nathaniel Owusu-Boadi, let's welcome him to give us an overview of the scientific conference. Please do it better. These people have worked so hard to put this together.
Chairman, distinguished guests, provosts and directors, our keynote speaker for this morning, colleagues, participants, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this year's scientific conference. The conference is held under the theme, Advancing Research Excellence for Transformative Impact. This theme reflects our collective commitment to research that drives change, supports national development, and strengthens the global knowledge economy. It reminds us that excellence is not an abstract ideal. It's a practical responsibility that requires rigor, collaboration, and outcomes that improve lives. The conference is structured around 6 sub-themes that mirror emerging national and global priorities. And the sub-themes are 1, emerging technologies and engineering innovations. 2, health systems, biomedical advances, pharmaceutical sciences and well-being. 3, climate resilience, environmental sustainability, and food systems. 4, creative arts, cultural heritage and human capital development. 5, urban futures, sustainable cities, and inclusive governance. And 6, entrepreneurship, innovation, and sustainable development. This year, the response from the research community has been very remarkable. We received 331 abstracts. After review, 284 were accepted for presentation. Of these, 96 were selected for oral presentations and 188 for poster presentations. The spread of topics across disciplines reflects a strong culture of interdisciplinary inquiry and a healthy research ecosystem. The program for the oral sessions demonstrates the depth of scholarship across the sub-teams. The posters further broaden the scientific dialogue by emerging ideas, early stage data, and by presenting emerging ideas, early stage data, and innovative models. Together, the oral and poster sessions provide a comprehensive overview of the scientific work being conducted within our colleges and by our collaborators. As we begin the conference, I encourage all participants to be engaged with their presentations, ask questions, and explore opportunities for future partnerships. Research achieves a transformative impact when it moves beyond isolated findings to collaborative action. I thank all presenters, reviewers, chairs, and contributors for the work that has brought us to this stage, and I wish all participants a productive and enriching conference. Thank you very much.
We can do it better for Professor Osubodi. Thank you, Prof, for guiding the work of the scientific committee. Prof Chair, ladies and gentlemen, we now want to move on to our plenary talk. And if you allow me, I will read a brief profile of our distinguished speaker. Our distinguished speaker is a professor of epidemiology and global health. He is the former Pro-Vice Chancellor of our great institution, KNUST-TEK. He is also the former Dean of the School of Public Health and the former Director of the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research Cases here. Our speaker has secured and managed multi-million-dollar research with funding from global funders with a main focus on pandemic preparedness, vaccine development, and non-communicable diseases. Our speaker leads KNUST's Africa Health Education Collaborative, which is funded by the MasterCard Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Professor Ellis Osudabo as he speaks to us on translating biomedical research into efficient and equitable health delivery system. Prof is online. Prof, if you can hear us. Okay.
Thank you very much. Give me a second to upload my slides. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you're able to see my slides. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Prof. Unfortunately, we can't see your slides yet.
Audible enough?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, Prof.
Can I ask the IT team to see if we can upload the slides from this side, because I don't think I have the privileges to do so.
And see your slides now. Yes, but if it can be enlarged a little bit, so you are able to see. If you can put it on slideshow, yes.
advances in molecular biology, genomics, regenerative medicine, understanding of disease and human biology have progressed in very astronomical ways. Africa is no exception to this trend. Across the continent, research institutions, teaching hospitals, and collaborative networks are emerging, contributing to global knowledge while addressing local health priorities. From novel diagnostics for infectious diseases to African-led clinical trials in infectious diseases, oncology, and maternal health. The continent is generating solutions that are both innovative and relevant. Globally, we have seen examples of successful translations, the rapid development of vaccines for infectious diseases, effective HIV/AIDS treatment regimens, and evidence-based maternal and child health interventions. Let me just share a few more with you, a few more examples to illustrate what is possible when research informs action. Rapidly growing local research capacity has been noticed on the continent of Africa. African-led initiatives are building real scientific muscle, from genomics consortia of researchers to new laboratories doing advanced molecular work. Programs like H3 Africa have created biobanks, trained investigators across the continent, and produced hundreds of publications and trainees that anchor long-term capacity. KNUST was part of H3 Africa, for example, and I know that individuals who are senior members have been trained by this platform. Vaccine and biologicals manufacturing is moving from dream to reality. Our own country is an institution that is spearheading vaccine. The WHO mRNA technology transfer hub is a concrete effort to localize mRNA technology so that it will ensure the supply and address those pandemics. That hub, plus further partnerships such as with CEPI, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Initiative, mean Africa is starting to build the tools to design and make vaccines for diseases that matter in the future. More African-led clinical research and real-world impact, clinical trials and implementation studies on malaria vaccines for R21 vaccine, RTSS vaccine, and pilots on Ebola, COVID-19, and other pandemic diseases, and new candidate vaccines are increasingly run or co-led on the continent of Africa. There are stronger regional coordination. The Africa CDC and partners are showing strong leadership across universities with funders for improving surveillance and ensuring that lab networks and regulatory coordination is put as a mainstay for addressing inequities. Now, despite these advances, there remains a significant translation gap where promising research fails to impact health systems or reach patients who are in need. Understanding and addressing this gap is crucial for realizing the full potential of biomedical science. Some of the gaps that exist and the challenges that remain include limited infrastructure for product development. There are few countries that have good manufacturing practices, for example, certified labs or pilot plants to scale up vaccines or drug production. That's a fact. Translational facilities for toxicology testing, formulation, or device prototyping are scarce. In fact, in KNUST, I'm not even sure we have a vivarium for animal testing. We have, obviously, some animals that we use, but we do not have a vivaria that support state-of-the-art facilities for animal or preclinical testing. There's fragmented funding ecosystem. Research funding is often project-based and externally driven, ending once the paper is published. There's limited venture capital or innovation financing to move ideas through the valley of death between discovery and market. And therefore, many a discovery will not see the light of day. There are regulatory and policy bottlenecks. National regulatory authorities are uneven in strength across the continent. Approval timelines can be slow and vary across countries. There's lack of regional harmonization, making it very expensive for startups to scale. There's weak industry-academia linkages. And I know that as an institution, we have tried to address this in the recent past. Few partnerships exist between universities and local pharmaceutical companies or biotech firms. Researchers often have limited incentives for an IP support within institutions. So from discovery to commercialization of innovations, one is faced with a daunting task of going through enormous paperwork and oftentimes without institutional support. Local industry may lack research and development divisions capable of absorbing university inventions. Workforce retention and skills gap also prevail. Skilled scientists and technicians trained abroad often face limited local opportunities and equipment, leading to brain drain. Sometimes even in-service contract agreement to ensure that equipment are functioning for optimum performance becomes a very big issue. Specialized roles in regulatory affairs, tech transfer, or product design are often in short supply. There are issues with data and community translation. Evolving data translation into policy sometimes can lag due to bureaucratic inertia, political turnover, or lack of trust in the local data. Public engagement and health literacy remains uneven, making adoption of new technologies slower. There's also limited local manufacturing that we all are aware. And as if that is not enough, we have inequities in access. Marginalized communities, rural populations, and vulnerable groups often miss out on the benefits of new discoveries. And it's usually the privilege of those who can afford. In the African context, these challenges are especially pronounced. Delays in local vaccine production, limited access to advanced diagnostics, and uneven healthcare delivery and access highlight the need for more integrated approaches to translation. These gaps are certainly not unsurmountable. They identify the areas where reform, innovation, and strategic partnerships can make a decisive difference. Despite this momentum, progress on the continent of Africa remains fragile. And once it remains fragile, the translation gaps reflect not just science, but systemic issues: governance, economics, education, and infrastructure. Bridging it will require long-term, locally led investment and not just donor-driven projects. Africa's translation gap isn't lack of ideas, it's a lack of bridges connecting discovery to delivery. So what are the pathways to efficient translation? What are some of the ideas that we can share when it comes to efficient translation? Efficient translation is achieved when research seamlessly flows into practice, guided by strategic systems and robust partnerships. Key pathways include strengthening translational research ecosystem, and that includes universities, research institutions, teaching hospitals, research centers, serving as high-linking discovery, clinical application, and policy implementation. establishing research policy to practice partnerships ensures the findings inform decision making in real time and in real life situations. In addressing the issue of efficiency, we need to address capacity building, training clinician scientists who understand both laboratory research and clinical needs, fosters relevant innovation. Encouraging multidisciplinary collaboration involving engineers, data scientists, social scientists, public health experts enhances the scope and applicability of research. Local innovation and manufacturing must be a consideration for many an institution that is interested in efficiency. Public-private partnerships and biomedical entrepreneurships can accelerate the production and distribution of locally relevant technologies. Examples obviously include African-developed rapid diagnostic kits and mobile health applications that have improved accessibility. Data and digital health integration is an area that we have to look at. Big data analytics, AI, and electronic health systems allow for monitoring of interventions, improving efficiency, and informing policy in real time. What about regulatory harmonization? Streamlining and predictability of these processes through ethical review and approval processes will enable timely translation without compromising safety or equity. In summary, one requires speed, relevance, sustainability, and equity. Efficiency is achieved when research systems and people align, ensuring that discoveries do not stagnate, but reach the population that need them the most. How do we ensure equity in healthcare delivery? Efficiency alone is not enough, colleagues. Equity translation ensures that innovations benefit all communities fairly. Equity means more than equality. It requires fairness in access, opportunity, and outcomes. Whereas equality ensures that everyone gets the same, regardless if it's needed or right for them, equity ensures that those who need them, understand them, can go through barriers and circumstances and conditions to be able to access them. In Africa, disparities persist between urban and rural populations, men and women, socioeconomic groups and wealth quintiles. Biomedical innovations, therefore, may be developed on the continent but are often deployed elsewhere, exacerbating the inequities. We need to strengthen primary health care as the foundation for addressing inequities. Health equity starts at the community level. We need to invest in primary and community health systems, such as clinics, use of community health workers, and mobile health units to address and scale up task shifting and digital tools to support community health workers, promote integrated care, and ensure that maternal, infectious, and chronic diseases are nipped in the bud. Example, I'm aware that Rwanda, for example, has this community-based health insurance schemes, as we do have. How about building equitable healthcare financing models? We need to keep improving on our current health insurance policies, develop universal health coverage strategies and schemes. And I'm aware that we have introduced something we call the mobile wallet to ensure that persons who can renew on a timely basis their health insurance can do so. How about using progressive taxation as an innovative measure to address inequities? We can increase domestic health spending. And I know that the AU governments have made a commitment to that. Professor Chair, distinguished researchers and scientists. Localized research, manufacturing, and supply chain is an area that we need to address inequities. Equity in access requires equity in production. Strengthening regional manufacturing capacity for vaccines, diagnostics, and essential medicines to reduce dependence on imports. Support African-led R&D that address local disease burdens, such as malaria, HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, sickle cell disease, and so on and so forth. Not forgetting neglected tropical diseases. We need to invest in human resources for health. No equitable system without equitable staffing. We need to expand training and retention programs for nurses, doctors, and allied health workers, especially in rural areas. We need to use incentives such as housing, education, or rural service credits, and so on and so forth, to attract and retain health workers in the rural areas. In our own country, we are aware the majority of health workers are resident in urban areas. We need to use data and digital health for inclusive access. Data equity, health equity. If there is data inequity, obviously we cannot achieve health equity. We need to build on national health data systems that track the outcomes of disease and disease entities, including indicators of health such as gender, location, and income, to identify inequities. We need to invest in digital health infrastructure, telemedicine, telepharmacy, e-pharmacy, and so on and so forth, and consequential development of applications to address these. How about the governance, accountability, and community voice? That is an area that we need to look at. Equity is a governance issue as much as it is a medical issue. We need to strengthen community participation in healthcare planning. We need to ensure that there's transparency in health budgets, procurement, and service delivery. We need to embed gender equity and rights-based approaches to ensure that we empower the respective individuals and communities and representations of decision-making around the table, so that citizens co-own their health systems, not where decisions are top-down, but bottom-up. It's also the important piece of partnerships that center African leadership. Nothing about us without us. Shift from donor-driven to co-created health programs with African leadership. Encourage South-South collaboration among African countries to share solutions and ensure that they contextualize to address the issues that we have. We need to align aid with national priorities, and shouldn't be anything goes. The bottom line is that equity in health delivery for Africa depends on local ownership, resilient health systems, fair financing, and inclusive innovation. It is not just about aid, it's about more agency. True translational success occurs only when all segments of society benefit, not just a privileged few. The role of academia in addressing these cannot be overemphasized. Academic institutions have a unique responsibility as bridges between discovery and delivery. Researchers must not only generate knowledge, but also have and ensure that it informs health practice and policy. This requires transdisciplinary collaboration, bridging the divide between bench, bedside, and the community. Open science and data sharing is very, very important. We should promote transparency and accelerate innovation. We should also ensure that there's ethical leadership in ensuring that research benefits communities and does not exploit them. As a researcher and clinician, I have seen at first hand how engagement across disciplines and with communities enhances both the relevance and impact of biomedical innovation. Professor Chair, what will be the vision for the future? Imagine an Africa health system where innovations developed locally are implemented efficiently, equitably, and sustainably. Laboratories and clinics collaborating seamlessly. Digital platforms monitoring outcomes in real time. Local manufacturing ensuring affordability and supply. Policies that prioritize underserved communities are upheld. Africa need not only consume biomedical innovation, it can, in fact, lead it. By investing in translational ecosystem, capacity building, and equitable delivery, the continent can transform health outcomes for generations to come. I shall conclude by saying that, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished professors, scientists, researchers, biomedical discovery is powerful when it is implemented. Efficiency requires integration, equity, demands inclusion. In translational science is a shared responsibility of researchers, clinicians, policymakers, and certainly the communities. Let us ensure that our laboratories are not islands of brilliance in oceans of inequity, but bridges of knowledge, carrying healing in every client, patient, and community. I want to thank you very much for your kind attention. I look forward to engaging you in question and answer time, and also your contribution to this very important subject that addresses advancing research for transformative impact. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Alice Owusu-Darboe, for such a deeply insightful and actually stimulating presentation. Prof, online, we would like to take a question or two from the audience if there are any. Please raise your hand. We will come to you with the microphone. You can ask your question. If it's a contribution as well, it is welcomed. Okay, so it looks like we don't have a question. Prof, thank you for reminding us the value of translating science into solutions that truly serve society. Your reflections on how biomedical research can effectively be translated into equitable health delivery has really enriched today's discussions. And we are grateful for your time, your expertise, and your continued commitment to advancing science for societal good. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me show appreciation once again to Professor Alice Owusu-Darboe.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your time and all the effort. I think in the spirit of addressing issues regarding significant translation gaps, it is a very good time for us to take an address or a presentation from industry. And we are going to be looking at harnessing transdisciplinary research to tackle global challenges. And to help us do this is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Vaccine Institute, who is being ably represented by the Deputy CEO of the National Vaccine Institute and a seasoned biomedical research scientist with a distinguished academic career at the University of Hull, UK. With expertise spanning biomedical research, healthcare leadership, and academic development, he plays a leading role in shaping Ghana's vaccine manufacturing strategy and aligning it with Africa's goal of producing 60% of its vaccines by 2040. His research includes chronic kidney disease, iron deficiency anemia, and mitochondrial dysfunction with impactful findings on IV iron therapy and cardiovascular complications. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Faisal Nuhu, the Deputy CEO of the National Vaccine Institute. Please, let's show him some kindness. Give him some warmth of KNUST welcome. Yes, let him feel it. Thank you.
I'm just wondering if I still have a head. When you were introducing me, my head was expanded. Thank you very much. Prof. Chair, Deans, Directors, Distinguished Faculty Heads, Researchers, Students, Invited Guests, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from Dr. Sozi Tete. He was supposed to be here, but for other engagements. Before I proceed to do what you've asked me, permit me to recap some of the things that's for mentioned. I'm recapping them because I want us, after my engagement, if from policy perspective, some of those issues can be or will be addressed into the future. Prof. Chair, yourself, you made mention of limited or no collaboration between researchers and policy makers. And I agree with you, that is why we are having policy hurdles. So in the course of my discussions, I will address some of those things. And Director of, I think it's graduate school, you couldn't have presented it any clearer. You mentioned that we must explore commercialization of research rather than just publications and getting promoted. And Prof. Ellis also double, and I hope I've mentioned it well. Of course, a lot of the issues you mentioned, I couldn't jot all of them, but permit me, I got some of them though. There was a mention of workforce, limited workforce capacity in biomanufacturing. Prof also mentioned limitations in local manufacturing. And key, perhaps because I already plan to address issues like that, was limited infrastructure for PD and scale-up. PD here stands for product development. And WHO mRNA transfer hub and how Ghana can be positioned to benefit from it. Now, let's keep all these things in mind. And please give me more than 20 minutes. I acknowledge the honor and privilege given me to be part of this year's Research Week and Scientific Conference, an event that continues to inspire innovation and demonstrate immense potential of the Ghanaian and African leadership. And by that, there is micro representation of that here. The chosen team empowering researchers to achieve impactful outcomes, ladies and gentlemen, resonate very well with the vision of the National Vaccine Institute. And I hope there will be opportunities in the future to discuss the key role your university will play in our vision of empowering researchers to be more impactful. The sub-team of which I am to address, harnessing transdisciplinary research to tackle global health challenges, could not be more timely. In an era marked by pandemics, climate change, antimicrobial resistance, the rise of non-communicable diseases, no single discipline holds all the answers. You cannot just say biomedical researchers can provide all the solutions. If that was the case, when you, biomedical researchers, brought a COVID-19 vaccines, the expectation would have been that every global citizen would have been queuing to get it. But we are running away. If not for policy directives that forced us that if you don't have COVID-19 certificate, as it was in the case in the UK, you can go and do grocery shopping. I, a biomedical scientist, would never have gone for it. So that means there is something crucially wrong. Biomedical research alone is not the solution. The complex problems we face demand collective intelligence, a merging of minds across health sciences, engineering, data science, social sciences, and humanities. It means we must now adapt, and if we have done so, strengthen inter and intra-departmental collaborations. When we come to the sciences, you have to collaborate with yourselves. Inter-faculty collaborations, and therefore, inter-university collaborations. And I'm happy to see Prof here from Noguchi. That means there's such collaborations going on. So in short, the era of working in silos is over. Don't just work in your laboratories. Work with others outside of your laboratories. And just don't work with people in your field. Work with others outside your field. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to go on to global health in a changing world, and continue to permit me to use COVID-19 as a case example, and painfully so because we learned a lot. That our global health is deeply interconnected biologically, socially, and economically. I've highlighted economically because that's the only thing we respond to these days. Anything that will affect how much comes into my pocket, I'm sensitive to it. Anything that will affect how much profit your university or your company makes, you are sensitive to this. And viruses, I will tell you, and other pandemic-like diseases will affect you economically. So let's continue to be conscious of that. A virus that emerges in one corner of the world can disrupt education. I actually need to mention this, you've seen it. Food security and livelihood everywhere. The pandemic also reveals gaps in our preparedness, weak health systems. And I'm happy to say, when we talk about weak health systems, the Western world, advanced world, used to think that that was something for developing countries like Africa. But when COVID-19 hit, they all appreciated that, look, what you thought you have, you've got nothing. It also revealed dependence on external supply chains for vaccines and diagnostics, and limited local research capacity. This aspect, ladies and gentlemen, and sadly so, is peculiar to Africa or where we come from. And when I talk about local research capacity, one can easily be misled. You can see brilliant minds like yourself and say we have limited research capacity. So the limited research capacity in question is a capacity capable of addressing the Ghanaian problems, and by extension, the African problems. However, COVID-19 also taught us good lessons. It showed the power of collaboration. Within months, scientists across continents shared data, sequenced genomes, and developed vaccines using unprecedented partnership. So that was a good thing. Unfortunately, people have to die to show that there's a need for us to engage in such partnership. This is the very essence of transdisciplinary research, not confined by academic silos, but driven by shared purpose and shared agency. Now, you said I should talk about transdisciplinary collaboration. So the word transdisciplinarity, I would want to look at it beyond just collaboration. Transdisciplinary research is more than just working together. It is an integration of knowledge, methods from different disciplines, whether it is social sciences, biological sciences, from different disciplines, to create new and novel frameworks and solutions. It means that the engineer designing a ventilator must work hand in hand with the clinician who is going to apply it. The clinician must work hand in hand with the policymaker who is going to fund it, and give them reasons for funding it. And the policymaker shouldn't just throw money around. Their decisions must be informed by the needs of the community, who will be the end user. That is the very essence of transdisciplinary collaboration. It means the social scientists help us understand vaccine hesitancy. And as I mentioned about COVID-19, we didn't see people queuing. It is because you, the biomedical scientists, refused or failed to work with social scientists who should have As you were doing your lab work, they should have been in the communities telling people there is a vaccine coming. You need this vaccine, otherwise you are going to die. If you take the vaccine, you would get temperature, but that means the vaccine is working. If I'm not told, I would say you just gave me something, it made me sick, therefore it is not good. But when I'm explained to that when you get temperature for taking a vaccine, it is part of the mechanism of action of that vaccine, I will appreciate it. So we failed as biomedical scientists to work hand in hand with social scientists in that regard. That is what we are talking about. Also, whilst data scientists can use artificial intelligence to predict disease outbreak, I am coming from National Vaccine Institute, and I am not supposed to say this, but today I'm not the CEO of National Vaccine Institute. I am a biomedical scientist, so I am permitted to say it. How much money did the West spend in funding cholera vaccines? Ladies and gentlemen, do we really need cholera vaccine? Don't take my perceived answer for it. When COVID-19 came, and then we socially encouraged people to enhance sanitation, wash their hands, use hand sanitizers, how many cholera cases did we get? So all the money that was spent, and if you go to the UK, for instance, where I spend a lot of my time, we didn't see cholera. So while they were spending their money in sponsoring cholera vaccines and all those stuff, they have spent their money in eradicating cholera. That money could easily, if we have policy framework, be spent in our various countries to eradicate cholera, because we know we can predict when cholera will hit, where cholera will hit, how long it will last for. We know all those things. So we need the funding, both from government and also called donor agencies. It must be true to helping us and helping us for good. KNUST, with your rich mix of colleges, and I'll give you a short story. My two siblings, my two senior brothers, they all attended KNUST, and I wanted to come here. They shipped me to University of Ghana. So when I say KNUST, our university, I'm part of you in spirit, Prof. I'm part of you in body. KNUST, because of these mixed colleges you have, from sciences, engineering, health sciences, agriculture, and to humanities, you are perfectly positioned to champion this approach, the approach of transdisciplinarity. You are perfectly positioned to do that. Prof, you are also positioned to do that, don't worry. The solutions to our greatest health challenges will emerge not in isolation. We all know that by now, but at the intersection of our disciplines, at the intersection where the biomedical scientist is meeting the social scientist, where the policymaker is meeting the social scientist, and where government is meeting all these people. Only then will we have true solutions for African problems. Now let's talk about Africa's opportunity and responsibility, and I'll explain why. We know Africa bears a significant share of global disease burden. Yet we also know Africa possesses extraordinary intellectual capital, biodiversity, and crucially, cultural resilience. Culture is very important. That's why social scientists must be an integral component of us. This means, rather than seeing our disease burden always as a problem, it must be seen as an opportunity. And I think Ghana, for that matter, you have to utilize this opportunity, the opportunity of seeing disease burden as a potential commercial entity. And once you seize it, you must lead in developing locally relevant solutions. Don't just do research for research's sake. Do research for a reason to impact the life of your neighbor. Whether it is in vaccine manufacturing, digital health innovation, or climate-smart agriculture, our research must be rooted in African realities and driven by African priorities. That is all. An institution like KNUST are critical to this mission. Prof, are critical, you are part. By fostering partnership between universities, government, industry, and communities, you can translate research into policies and then research into product. And we all, the first component is for you researchers, translate research into policy, translate it into product, but we all must translate the policy and the product to improve livelihood for every Ghanaian citizen. That must always be the aim. Anything short of that, ladies and gentlemen, we are not just going to fail ourselves, we will fail our children and our children's children. Let us therefore envision a Ghana, and by extension an Africa, where vaccines are produced locally, where health data informs real-time decision making, and where scientific evidence drives equitable policy. Now, I recap some of the things you mentioned. Let's now go into them. How then do we build the ecosystem for transdisciplinary research and to enhance translation of our research? To make this vision a reality, the vision of transdisciplinarity, the vision that you have to undertake impactful research, the vision that we at NVI have to provide the necessary institutional arrangement that will enable you to perform impactful research, the vision of the health minister to ensure health sovereignty of our people, and above all, the vision of the president to have a research Ghana where the health needs of our people are sustainably met all the time. If that has to be attained, several enablers are essential. What are those enablers? There are so many, but I'll limit myself to just 4. Investment in research infrastructure. This can include laboratories, biobanks, digital platforms, innovation hubs, and so on and so forth. What are we doing? In that regard, NVI will be launching, I'm sure, Prof, we had a series of discussions, and you are privy to this. And when I said, I hope there will be opportunities for NVI to engage your university in the future, that is what I meant. NVI will be launching an initiative called Laboratory Bench to Manufacturing Belt. And we appreciate that may be capital intensive. And it must include infrastructural investment into a GMP-like product development facility. And that is what Prof was talking about. GMP multi-purpose biosimulation facility. Again, multi-purpose here is the key word. 1, it must be able to do scale-ups, as Prof talked about. 2, it must be able to be used as a training facility for graduates and brilliant sciences that are coming from your universities. 3, it must be able to be retooled in case there's another COVID-19 pandemic into, I'm just 5 minutes, thank you very much, into production of bulk to serve the country. Number 2, capacity building. Prof also talked about it. We must train the next generation of scientists to think beyond disciplinary boundaries and equip them with both technical and soft skills. That is why NVI is forming a training consortium based on public-private academia partnership. And the purpose of that primarily is to first assess. Then after you've done the assessment, provide. You don't just provide and sit down, and continue to fill the evolving competency gaps in biomanufacturing. This must be done. Policy support and funding, and I know politicians don't want to say this, except we, the politicians from NDC. Sorry. Policy support and funding. Government and private sector must see research not as an expense, but as an investment in national development and resilience. To this end, the President, as you all know, have announced an additional $50 million funding to the NVI. That is on the funding aspect. Policy. NVI has drafted a cabinet memo for advanced purchase commitment. What that means is that once we manufacture vaccines in Ghana, government must be committed responsibly. We are not saying that just the government must just have an open to be buying at any price. Government must be committed responsibly to purchasing those vaccines that are produced here. You engineer a vaccine, you give the vaccine to a manufacturing industry, then we must support you by committing ourselves to purchasing it. That by itself, without any funding, is a potent de-risking factor in investing in your research and investing in the industry. There are many more policy initiatives, but in the interest of time, let me just say there's another one about pool procurement mechanism among ML3 countries in Africa, of which Ghana is part. There are a lot of pilot studies going on, and that will by extension include vessels. Hopefully into the future we will have ML countries purchasing vessels from other ML countries in Africa. Lastly, ethics and equity. Transdisciplinary research must be inclusive, ensuring gender balance, ethical integrity, community participation at every stage. And if I can conclude, your 5 minutes, I have 2 minutes, right? Distinguished guest, if COVID-19 era reminds us of any vulnerability, it also reminds us of our collective strength. The answers to global health challenges will not come from any one laboratory or university. They will come from partnership that connects ideas, disciplines, and people. Let this research week serve as a catalyst, therefore, a call to action for KNUST and its partners to continue building bridges between disciplines, sectors, and societies. And as we engage in discussions, presentations, and collaborations in this week, remember that every insight, every experiment, and every partnership brings us closer to a healthier and more equitable world. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nuhu. Let's do it for him one more time. Thank you so much for giving us insights from industry and speaking to us as a biomedical scientist, not the deputy CEO of, and as a UG alumnus, even though you are in the best university when it comes to quality education globally. Thank you very much, and thank you for stressing on transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary research in your presentation. Coming from the discipline of Greek economics, I was happy you mentioned food security, and so that put a smile on my face. Thank you one more time, Dr. Nunu. We would go on with the next item on the program, which is a panel discussion. And so my co-moderator will take us through the modalities for that.
All right, thank you very much, Gifty. So up next is our panel discussion on strengthening academia industry collaboration for vaccine production and healthcare delivery in Ghana. And this important discussion will be co-moderated by Professor Richard Odame Phillips, Scientific Director at the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, KCCR, and Professor Kingsley Badu, a faculty member at the Department of Theoretical and Applied Biology. Please let's welcome our co-moderators with a clap offering as they introduce their panelists to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we are pleased to moderate this very important section. I'm Professor Phillips.
Kingsley Badu.
Thank you. So here we have a huge assignment, but we have a brilliant panel to aid us with this assignment. We have, and I'll call them in no particular order. We have Professor Mohamed Muitucello, a professor at the Department of Clinical Microbiology. I'll kindly ask you to come up the podium. I have here Dr. Enes Zain Manson. He's a medical biotechnologist, and he works with the GIZ PharmaVax Ghana program, and will kindly ask you to come up the podium. We have Professor Priscilla Kolibia Mante, who is an associate professor in the Department of Pharmacology, KNUST we'll kindly ask you to come up. And then I have my friend, Professor Kwejo Asamoah-Kusi, who came all the way from Accra, and he's from Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. And I'll kindly ask you to come up. So, the discussion we're going to have is on strengthening academic industry collaboration for vaccine production and healthcare delivery in Ghana. And we're all aware that the global health crisis caused by COVID-19 was a powerful catalyst that exposed the profound risks of a centralized global vaccine manufacturing landscape, leading to inequalities in access. And there was a powerful consensus. Take that up. Okay. There's a powerful consensus has emerged across Africa that the continent must be able to develop its own vaccines. I think I'm doing something wrong. Yeah. And Ghana has positioned itself as a premier location and a sustainable vaccine manufacturing ecosystem for West Africa, creating a unique fertile ground for partnerships. And at the highest level, the government of Ghana has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to this vision. And currently, Ghana's ambition is to realize through significant private partnerships. And that discussion is going to be the focus about how academia and industry can partner and how that partnership can be strengthened, because without that, we will not be able to succeed as a country. And so, without much ado, I'll take my seat and we'll discuss this at length, and we'll try to manage the time so that we don't go over our time. So welcome, my panelists. Thank you very much. I hope you are comfortable. Yes, so we're going to start the first round to try to get your perspective, for you to share your perspectives on what you think currently are the challenges with regard to academia and industry partnerships, or what do you think are the real challenges facing us? I would like to briefly take the first round, your perspectives on this topic.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I must apologize for my voice. I am not a talkative, but just a little talking with somewhere yesterday has gotten my voice made. So apologies for what you'll be hearing in your ears. Thank you to organizers for the meeting. That as a start, depending on where you stand, academia, industry relationships have not been best over the years. I think everything comes back to funding. In the past, we've tried to get, for example, students to go into industry to gain hands-on skills. That has not been very effective. Maybe in recent times, that's changing. But in the past, it was very difficult to get students to go to to be able to gain some hands-on experience. That is changing, and it is changing also because of the realization that garbage in, garbage out, like they say in the computer parlance. If you in industry do not accept to have students who are in training to know what a job market has to offer, then when they are done and they step out there, you will not get the best product to work for you. I have one of our former chancellors who said that university education is not supposed to train anyone to fit in any particular space, but to train people so that when they are employed along with someone who has not gone through a university education, what to take them, let's say, a year to do, the person who went through university education should be able to quickly adapt and do that in a shorter time, maybe a month. And that is one of the key pillars that we need to realize and to see how we can continue to collaborate to be able to get the best products out. So I'll leave it at this for now.
Yes, thank you. So we'll move to Priscilla. I'm sure you have your perspectives.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm honored to have the opportunity to be a part of this esteemed panel. Like my co-panelist explained, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to the relationship between academia and industry. But for me, I think I want to look at it differently. Yes, we have the funding challenges and all those other little issues or big issues, but I also think the problem is actually a problem with focus, strategic focus. So just allow me to briefly set a context around vaccine production or drug production. So one, we all know that the development pipeline for drugs or vaccines is very long and it's very, very expensive. Even in the West, there are very few big pharma companies that commit to working through the entire pipeline. Majority of the companies would wait out the patent protection period and then be able to jump onto the generic production point, right? Bringing that home, knowing that this is very expensive, do we really have the resources to be able to commit to the entire pipeline? If we are being honest, we do not, or at least not yet, right? So if we do not really have the resources to do this, I think we need to reframe what our challenges or what the problems are, and that will also help us to reframe what our opportunities are. For instance, if we look at the entire pipeline for vaccine production, which parts of the pipeline can we, for instance, plug into? Where do we have the resources, or where do we have the structures that we know that we can plug into this part and excel at? And I think that when we think about the academic industry partnership, we should think along those lines. What can we do quickly? What can we do at scale? What can we do efficiently? Is it fill finish of vaccines? Is it regulation? And then build on our strengths and try and focus all our energies towards the collaboration along those lines.
Thank you very much. So you are talking about common goals, having the same focus. You think that must be one of the key things. Okay.
All right, so thank you very much, and good morning. So it's a pleasure to join my senior colleagues on this panel. I think from where I sit and from some of the engagements we've had, one of the challenges we see currently is a lack of trust among these stakeholders. And I will demonstrate that using practical examples. So a few months ago, we rolled out applied R&D grants, where we requested or made it mandatory that to apply or to be eligible to apply, an academic institution or a research institution must partner a manufacturer to apply. Because we saw that the collaboration was quite sporadic. I mean, we didn't have a strong collaboration among these two. And so a manufacturer walks up to me here, I tell him about the entire grant. He has a product that is doing very well, and he intended to partner KNUST-TEK School of Pharmacy. But then in the end, he pulls out, citing that sort of trust. He doesn't believe that his idea will be protected enough. And so he feels that KNUST, being the R&D partner, will run away with his idea. And that is a major challenge that is stifling that kind of collaboration within or between academia and then industry. Then again, we had another major R&D private institution that was supposed to partner Atlantic Life Sciences, one of the major manufacturers. They also pulled out in the end, citing issues around intellectual property they are not sure they will secure the right protection for their innovations. And so, whether we like it or not, there is that mistrust, or lack of, not mistrust, maybe a lack of trust. And I think PharmaVax, in our engagements, we are trying to see how we can facilitate discussions to bring them together, to continue to work together. That is why we rolled out that applied R&D grant. We believe that it will foster collaboration going forward between academia and research. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's very insightful.
Thank you very much for this. Right, so a lot has been said, so I'll just add something little. Thing is, when it started, you know, it was government, presidential vaccine production. So universities were already on board. I remember the Frimpong Boateng's we were making inputs. I was one of those who contributed to that. So university on board, a lot is already happening. It's just that there's the more room for improvement. So what are the gaps? The gaps, as he said, mistrust. There's no existing structures. We have to build that. Vaccines thrive on innovations, and innovations are usually coming from academia. So there should be structures, there should be research hubs, translational hubs. This is where the shared with all universities. So you have innovation hubs. If we have these shared facilities, it's going to help us move forward so that we don't duplicate things. And then another thing is the funding. That one we all know, our government, if we want to achieve vaccine sovereignty, we need to fund them. Otherwise, when we start and China brings us loans, they will ask us to come for their vaccines. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think we need to move on. And just to summarize, I think there are issues of funding, there are issues of focus, the goal, there are issues of distrust, IP issues, and you hit on funding again. We need to move on. We need to check whether there are some success cases. I mean, Ernest, I know you've been engaging this pharma and academia. Do you know of any success stories of academia, pharma? Of course, you mentioned those that pulled out of your funding scheme. But do we have ideas of some success stories and what we can learn from these success stories?
Right, certainly. So we are aware of a few successes. One of them is between COA Research and Manufacturing Company, which is a manufacturer, and the Center for Plant Medicine. They've had this very cordial relationship or working relationship. And so we understand that the Center for Plant Medicine right now develops concentrates for COA. They even develop COA capsules, which is indicated for the treatment of, for general well-being and boosting immune system. And so that sort of a collaboration has resulted in products that are on the market addressing healthcare needs. Again, I think traditionally, as a country, our strength has been, I call it downstream in the vaccine development. So vaccines are done, but we have a lot of strength when it comes to clinical trials. And so we see, for instance, the RTSS clinical trial that involved several players, including University of Ghana, Noguchi, this malaria research facility in Agogo, and then GSK, which is a manufacturer. And so we see that those who are working quite well, they are leading to products that are on the market and that are addressing the healthcare needs of the population.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's very interesting, thank you very much, and very revealing, some of the stories you are sharing. I believe KNUST has made some strides. For example, there is a master's program on intellectual property. The Office of Grants and Research has an office on intellectual property and technology transfer. Beyond this, as we move forward, one of our goals is also to identify the steps towards improving these relationships. Professor Samoa mentioned that one of the mechanisms for which this collaboration would go on is students going for attachment so that we could, collaborate. I wanted to know from you or any of you, what are some of the other models for which we can improve these collaborations? Because we need to move forward. Moving from here, we need some concrete steps in order to ensure that this collaboration happens. All the talk that I've gone around is describing this transdisciplinary working together, without which we cannot make much progress. So what are some of the models, some mechanisms that can help us move forward in this direction? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if I can give this a fair shot. So I think in the recent past, GIZ has been very instrumental in trying to get some of these activities going. And if I remember correctly, somewhere in 2021, we started a discussion, Noguchi, with Kinafam. DK vaccines was just coming up. Set up a very good platform to train people, 4-month long courses that was going to train people who enter into biomanufacturing facilities. That was supposed to be in sync with the upsurge of local manufacturing companies, so that when they are ready and fully operational, we could have local capacity. Because we visited Atlantic Life Sciences, that's the other manufacturer, and it was a bit disheartening to see that most of the staff that they had employed were from East Africa. So we got to talking, we recruited a first batch of 50 people. 48 of them graduated effectively. Now this was just based on discussions that we started with Kina Pharma, or let me say Kina Foundation, which was formed out of DK vaccines. Now that training is on hold for 1 or 2 challenges, but we are looking at bringing it back because it would serve a very good purpose of giving both the R&D as well as the biomanufacturing training to people who can now be employed in those facilities. In that training, I remember clearly, we had a lot of the faculty locally who did a lot of the basic science teaching because we recruited people from diverse backgrounds, but we also had people from IVI in Korea, we had people from Afrigen in South Africa who took the biomanufacturing aspects of the course, which we locally do not have the expertise in. So those collaborations would be what I would recommend for us to move forward in terms of building the capacity that is needed.
Thank you. I'm going to try and be a little controversial. I think that for the momentum to be maintained, there's also, we need to think around how academia aligns properly with industry. I think that's also important. For as long as I can remember, since I became a member of staff, we've always spoken about how academia can align with industry. Of late, we've started using the buzzwords around co-creation. But then, for some reason, we are not making sufficient progress. And I think it is an inertia problem. There's some inertia that we need to overcome. And I think that inertia is there, or our inability to overcome that inertia has a lot to do with how academic systems are designed. So if we look, for instance, at how we reward excellence or recognize excellence, who is an excellent scientist? Is the one who has published 100 papers and has an H index of 40. Yesterday, I went back to look at our promotion rules and then looked at how in KNUST we reward things, for instance, like a patent. A patent is rewarded the same as 2 publications. But it takes me less time to get 2 publications than to develop a patent. So I think one of the very important things we need to do if we are really serious about us aligning with industry and forming this collaboration is to re-look at how we define success in academia. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. So to add on to that, I just wanted to indicate to Prof that we are actually working closely with the Office of Grants and Research on Intellectual Property. We are engaging a consultant who provide training for the IP officers, those who serve in those departments, not only in KNUST, but some of the other research institutes, specifically on pharmaceutical IP. And so we have a very close relationship with the Office of Grants and Research. Now, on other models that can enhance the collaboration, so like Prof mentioned earlier on, manufacturers or the industry must open their doors to academia. I think traditionally it's been the reverse. It is academia research that is always knocking on their doors. Recently it emerged in one of the workshops where we looked at provision of technical services for local manufacturers. So you want to register a product, what are the tests that are required? Where do you get this test? And so we brought academia research as the providers, the suppliers. And over there, it came up that industry, one of the key ways is to have, just like you do, open days. That's so recommended, have open days and bring academia, invite academic research to their doorsteps to come and see what is happening. That's one of the ways that can continue to foster collaboration. The other way is to have academics also having their sabbatical in industry. It's a proposal that has come up quite strongly, and we are taking it up with Professor Nkasa, School of Pharmacy, see how that can materialize. Thank you very much.
Okay, so policy incentives. Government must, those pharmaceutical companies, those life sciences, TEK vaccines, all of them are, they need policy incentives to be able to thrive. So, I mean, if you look at the vaccine, the Serum Institute of India, they were able to collaborate with academia and industry because of policy incentives. There was tax breaks and so on. So we need to be able to whip them up to ensure that we motivate them, and then they can also bring in money to collaborate with academia, industry, and government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the discussion is getting very interesting. I'm going to ask another question about the National Vaccine Institute. I mean, we have the Deputy Chief Executive here, and maybe you would like to hear this. Do you think there is any role they can play in fostering this collaboration? Because it's a big institute. Any thoughts on that from any of you, please?
I'd just like to say that the idea of the National Vaccine Institute is probably one of the most fantastic ideas that we've had in a long time. Yes, I think it's very timely, and it shows that we are not just talking about vaccine sovereignty, but we are actually putting in the structures that are necessary to achieve that. From what I understand, the job of the National Vaccine Institute is that it's supposed to act as a coordinating body. So it's coordinating things around R&D in vaccines, manufacture, and even regulation. Yes. But I would like to propose sort of a strategic redesign of what its mandate should be. I think it should be more than just a coordinating entity. I think we should, and I'm saying this if it is not already on paper, I think the NVI should be more like an innovation clearinghouse. For instance, it should be a repository of knowledge when it comes to vaccine development. I should be able to, for instance, go onto the NVI website and then find out what is happening in the space. Who is working on what? At what stage are they? What do we need to move to the next place? How can I form a collaboration with these people? In preparing for this panel, I actually tried, and I don't know, maybe I wasn't looking in the right place, but I couldn't find a website for NVI. I think they have a great opportunity to do this and to be able to be essentially the matchmakers of innovation.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And just to add a little bit to what you are saying, the NVI really, it's been set up, but it's just recently the airline that will get it to implement all its policies and everything. It's just in the offing. So as we are talking, probably the deputy chief will also pick some of the ideas and slot it in, and probably that's why you are not getting what you want. I think he's going to take that message along.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with you when it comes to what role the NVI should be playing. And I was happy when Dr. Nuhu mentioned the ideas hub that they have on paper to do, because that's something we've advocated for right from the beginning when it was the National Vaccine Committee. We've constantly made the point that our current state of R&D and manufacturing in Ghana is very nascent. When I, as a researcher, come across a very good candidate, I can only push it thus far. The industry will not be ready to take my antigen and move it forward, as we are now. And therefore, there needs to be that middle level hub that would develop that antigen into a drug substance. And that is what we are missing. And until we solve that gap problem, we are going to have issues and be going around in circles. I can only do up to a point, probably thinking of my would want to move on quickly. So I get an antigen to a point where it looks good, but it is not a vaccine yet. Some work needs to be done on it to make it a vaccine. And the industry, you know, for a long time in of our pharmaceutical industries are mostly fill and finish. Yeah, so the R&D base is not very strong. And until we fill that gap, we are going to continue to have these discussions, and we are not going.
Okay, so look, we don't have time. We have just 5 minutes. And so we need to take all your best points before we go away. So I think I want you all to give us your last recommendations as a panel, and as what should be our take-home messages in terms of recommendation for strengthening the vaccine academia. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
You answer this once and for all. As you do that, tell us the specific policy recommendations. If you are talking about government policy incentives specifically, what should he do so that academia and industry can focus on the priorities of our country? Thank you.
So please, 1 minute each, please.
Okay, so with the policy incentives, tax cuts as critical, tax incentives, that is one. The other thing I want to add with NVI is the innovation hubs I mentioned earlier. They are critical to link NVI, industry, and the pharmaceutical or drug manufacturing companies.
Okay, Ernest.
Right, so from our angle as a development partner, GIZ, and for that matter, PharmaVax, I think we are supporting the entire ecosystem. It's an end-to-end approach, including the R&D people and the manufacturers, the regulators, and everyone. And so I think PharmaVax and the EU will continue to provide funding to strengthen the ecosystem, to ensure that we are on track, Africa is on track to develop 60% of our vaccine needs by 2040. And so we will continue to support in all the ways that we can, including support, for instance, through the R&D grants that can give birth to the innovations. And then from the bed to the bench so that we can have products in the market that will meet our healthcare needs.
Thank you.
Okay, so for me, I'd like to touch on the issue of money. Right? We've seen a lot of investments into the sector, but I think that we should start to consider an endowment style of funding, where the funding is taking care of the setup indefinitely, because it brings continuity, it brings autonomy. We can set our own health agenda, and then it also ensures attractiveness, because if there's indefinite funding, there's stability, and public sector will be attracted to stability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I'll also go on. But improving our inputs into funding research. And because if we are going to be a vaccine manufacturing hub, we need to start doing the research that in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years is going to give status. And cannot continue to depend on grant money from outside, because that would direct what research you do. You need to start having local and government inputs into funding R&D research.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, panelists, thank you very much. All too soon, we have to come to the end of this discussion, and just when it was heating up, we have to end it all. But I think you've just given us a little flavor for us to keep on thinking about the topic. Thank you very much, and we wish you all well. Hope to meet you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Phillips and Prof. Kingsley Badu Prof. Phillips and Prof. Kingsley Badu for this very important session on how we can strengthen academia and industry collaboration. Just when it was getting heated because of time, we had to cut it short, but we can allow it to simmer before taking it out of the pot. And I saw that some questions were thrown at the CEO of the National Vaccine Center, right? Yes, and he would want to directly respond to those, after which we would open it to all of us to, if you have a question, you are welcome to ask. If you have a contribution or anything that can also direct policy, you are welcome to do so as well. So, Dr. Faisal Nuhu, your reactions to the questions that were thrown at you and your own contributions.
Thank you very much. The first thing mentioned was the issue of funding. GIZ contributed 1.7 million euros for the academia industry partnership. And I know Dr. Ziang is aware of this, but he didn't want to mention it. MVI is contributing a further 1 to 1.5 million euros to continue to strengthen that collaboration, because we share that views with GIZ. In terms of structure, research hubs, innovation hubs, and all that stuff. When I said MVI, we are looking at infrastructural development, I didn't want to be direct. Let me be direct. Between now and 2028, inshallah, there will be project development facility, at least one. There will be GMP facility, multimodality facility, at least one. And in terms of the training capacity, I mentioned about training consortium. There will be initial funding, at least $3 million to that training consortium. It will address some of the things you are talking about. Placement. I worked at the University of Hull, and I saw how placements are done. There are cost component to that. The $3 million will go to cushion those things. And I know GIZ will come in. I'm not saying our $3 million will do all the trick. And we expect other funders or other partners to contribute. In terms of policy incentives, there are going to be a lot of policy incentives. And let me just address the issue of intellectual right. MVI is just taken off. We now have PPMA department. Anything that MVI have a hand on that involve academia and research and industry, there will be policy definition, and your intellectual property will be protected. As exemption, that is a very gray area. It is incredibly difficult. But I can tell you, there is government funding to manufacturing, to research. That I mentioned about the 50 million. There are few more to come, either from partners or from government. Changing the mandate of NVI. Let's not go there. There are a lot of regulators that will not want to hear that. But when you say institutional arrangement, that is the key word. Institutional arrangement can be anything. But your rights end where another person's right begin. So we should be conscious of that. Repository of knowledge. NVI is in development. The website is under development. And there will be what we call vaccine database as a component of that website. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That is from the National Vaccine Institute. They have given us money to begin with. When he mentioned $3 million, I thought we were going to clap to that. It is a very good initiative from NVI, and I'm sure other stakeholders would want to follow your footsteps to strengthen the gap between academia and industry. Please, any more reactions, questions, contributions? Yes, there's a hand here. We can take one.
Well, let me have a quick one here. Director, I heard something about institutional arrangements. Is that right? It's been a very nebulous statement many, many years, and even for now. So what exactly goes in when we are considering the academia and industry? In the academia, the institutional arrangement for research. In the industry, the institutional arrangement for research. What's the convergence in a way that the cooperation will be highly productive?
Thank you very much. I used institutional arrangement to address the need to change the mandate of NVI. Institutional arrangement gives us broad mandate, short of trying to do somebody's work. Let's emphasize on that. For research, for instance, if not for bureaucracies in procurement and all those stuff, the mRNA hub by now would have been established. There is, and Prof is aware of it, there is a budgetary allocation for mRNA hub, for the mRNA hub. But now it should have been established. But into next year, I can assure you that will be there. That is an institutional arrangement. Institutional arrangement. When we ask banks and other investors to put money or invest into local vaccine manufacturing, they are scared that we're going to put our money in and it may not come out. What will NVI do as a component of the institutional arrangement to de-risk the sector? That will include the advanced purchase commitment. That is, there's no financial component to it. But it could also include looking at other issues. And do not quote me for this. I'm a businessman. If I were a vaccine manufacturer and I'm finding it difficult to access fund because I'm looking for 4 years moratorium, or I don't have to pay anything back for the next 5 years, and no investor is willing to do that, I will go to NVI or I will go to government and say, how would you navigate this? How will you help risk it? And I will propose suggestions like, why don't you come into addressing the period where we will be incapable of making payment, but the investor requires it. Why don't you come in? Let's say your annual payment is about $500,000 and you are not in production, and therefore you cannot produce it. Come to government with ideas like that. How will you support me to be able to live up to those obligations when I'm not in the production phase for 5 years? Say $500,000 for 5 years, about $2.5 million. That is something government can do. That is part of the institutional arrangement. I don't want to give away a lot of things, but there are a lot we can do to the sector. You do not need $100 million to do that. You need that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So we have this well documented, clarified, so that they don't remain that in the sky anymore. It's only where I know where to go that I start how to get it. So let's make sure that these are well explained, documented, so that the researcher knows what comes from the institutional arrangement he has to respect and go by. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, all the speakers and panelists. I would like to say something regarding policy framework. I privileged to attend a similar conference in Denmark. That was themed Academia Meets Industry. In fact, what I've realized is, as one of the panelists said, now we, the academia, are knocking at the doors of industry. There is the reverse. It's the industries that are funding research in academia. A typical example is the work I did. We were to come up with new enzymes. So it was a collaboration between Novozymes and DTU, where I was. And they funded all the researches that we were doing there. The only thing is that, as we talked about IP, you need to be careful. So whenever you have to publish, you have to let them know what has to go into the publication. But we realized that every research that were done were funded by them. And you see, it didn't end there. They were also even taking up some of the researchers. So some of them will finish their PhD and will be working with the company. But unfortunately here, we've heard about government doing something. But sometimes I become worried because all these things are said, but you don't see anything. You only always be funding your research on your own or getting external support. But government is not doing anything. In fact, I had a typical experience where when I came, a company wanted me to help with some enzyme production to aid their, process. I sat them down, told them everything that they need to be involved in. Unfortunately, the person told me, if you can do it and we experiment and be sure that it will work. But you see, you need the help. But they are not ready to sacrifice in terms of finance. So I think that there should be realities to this. Otherwise, you talk about this and say that money will come, but nothing will come for us to do research to be able to also help the industry. Thank you.
Very much. Please, any more? I think we can just take about 2. So, yes, privilege to Prof. Phillips, and then there's a lady at the back. Oh, you are not a lady? I'm giving.
I was just going to add to the discussion, the questions that he asked. And you remember that during the discussion, they talked about the issue of mistrust. And it's actually a very huge thing in our culture. Probably there, maybe because they have the regulatory frameworks and their IPs are protected, maybe it gives them a bit more confidence to relate to each other. But probably some social science research is needed because there are a lot of behind why an industry person will put a relationship with an academia. It doesn't have to do with NVI, but our whole mindset regarding somebody stealing your ideas, person will do something with the products that you are developing together. That mistrust is huge, and we need to think about how there will be communication between research or academia and industry to try to break that jinx, because otherwise all the policies will be made, but people will still be adamant in relating to each other. So that communication, probably NVI can help us, bringing us together to bring that communication to place. Thank you very much.
A charge to you, NVI. We'll take the last one from the lady at the back. It has to balance. Our gender director is here. We don't want to be in her bad books. So the lady at the back.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ivy Nyako from Tradeways Chemist Limited. It is a local manufacturing company in Kumasi, Aija industrial area. For us, there are many times that we have been accommodating students from KNUST, UDS, CK, Tedam, and all the other schools. And currently there is a student from KNUST Biochem department who is also having her NSS with us. This same roundtable discussion, we had a similar one last week in Eschborn, Germany. It was the same discussion about the vaccine production. For us now, we have a GMP compliant facility and we are waiting for partnerships. So there we were having it with the Germany industries. We had an opportunity to go to Fresenius Kabi, a very big industry in Germany. We went there in Friedberg. And what happened was that we went through their system and we saw that, yes, we too can do some here. We are doing only the normal analgesic and others, but because of our new GMP compliant facility, from there, when I came back, I told my director about us engaging in the production of these IVs. So now, if NVI is there, then definitely we will be ready. From here, I might contact you so that we also help partner. I know GIZ has been helping us, and even with this trip, it was GIZ which helped us to go to Germany just 2 weeks ago. So please, we have been taking students from KNUST, and we are willing to help collaborate with the students and in partnership in research and others. And NVI, we will also come to you, so you help us in partnership, so we can also establish one in Kumasi here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you and for all the efforts. I think the conversation can continue when we are having our coffee break outside. We foster more collaborations. Another big round of applause to the panelists, the distinguished professionals, for giving us those beautiful insights on how we can bridge the gap between academia and industry. Please, I would like to acknowledge the presence of some very key people in our midst. Apart from the distinguished professors who have taken the stage or the podium that we have seen, I would want us to acknowledge the presence of Professor Jerry John Ponyo, who is the Director of Office of Grants and Research and the past Dean of the Quality Assurance and Planning Unit. Thank you so much for coming, sir. I would also want to acknowledge the presence of Prof. Esperanda Manfo, the immediate past Vice Dean of IPO, now the HOD of Sociology and Social Work. Thanks for coming. Professor Charles Ofosumafo is here. Let's show him some love. He has been with us right from the beginning until now. And the Director of Gender, Diversity and Inclusion, Professor Mercy Bedu, is here. Show her feminine love. We are privileged to have you, Professor. We also have in our midst Professor Samuel Asarin Kansa, the professorial rep on the University Council. Please show him some love. Yes, all protocols are duly observed. I think we have sat for very long. It is time for us to take a break with some tea and also treat ourselves to very informative poster sessions. Please, if you do not have a chit for the tea break, kindly pick one at the desk before you go. Yes, and when we go, try to interact. Yes, because it's very important if we want to have impactful research. Thank you very much, and see you in the next 30 minutes. So that is around 11:52. Thank you, and do enjoy your break.
Hello. Good afternoon, please. They've started with the breakout sessions. Please, can you refer to your brochure for the syndicate room? Thank you.